This video will contain spoilers from the off, so remember, you've been warned. Richie is a character within the bear that's extremely complex, and he underwent a lot of growth and development within season 2 of the show. We started off seeing Richie as an individual that was loud and over the top, and we saw him morph into a person who was so far from the individual that we came to be used to when we started season 1. His fragile and shattered mind was repaired, and the character had a new outlook on life. So with that, I thought it would be worth delving inside of his head and seeing why he is the way that he is. So let's get into it. Here is a look inside the mind of Richie in The Bear Season 2. The death of his best friend. The way that we saw Richie in Season 1 of the show was very much how we saw his journey continue during the beginning of Season 2. We saw a man that was loud, over the top, shouted, and wanted to make his presence known, despite the fact that what he was saying was offering very little in terms of progression and importance. He was a man that wanted to assert his dominance and wanted things to stay as they were, which was what caused a lot of the initial clashing with Kami when he took over the sandwich shop from his brother. It was here where I realized that, yes, Richie was an individual who was naturally like that and had it ingrained within his personality to want to be the loudest in the room and to be in control. However, I also feel that this was his way of mourning his best friend, and without anybody truly asking him if he was okay, this was his way of coping. He didn't want things to change, such as the menu and the clientele, because he missed his best friend and felt like if things changed, then he could be forgotten. He would often pass the death off at the start and not really address how he truly felt about it, especially when it was brought up in conversation. But I think the way that he was acting was more telling of how he truly felt instead of what was being said about the topic directly. So this is something which was causing him to act the way that he was in terms of his presence. Plus, I would also say that the tone that he adopts in being loud is his version of a love language, especially when it comes to speaking with Kami that way. It's the way of showing how they truly feel. The divorce from Tiff. This is something that I actually feel made up the bulk of Richie's personality in the present day and impacted his mood the most, and was a large contribution for the reason as to why he felt as though he had no purpose. We saw in episode 6 of season 2 just how in love he was with Tiff, and that he acted in a way with her that was far different to how we'd seen him with anybody else before. He was gentle, soft, and caring. In fact, the only other person other than Tiff that we saw him acting like that towards was his daughter, Ava. Him being divorced from Tiff, an individual who he was still deeply in love with, and only being able to see his daughter a couple of times a week at scheduled moments is something that I believe weighs heavily on his mind almost 24/7. He felt like he had no purpose due to the fact that everything that he had lost. He felt lost in working at the sandwich shop and felt like he had wasted the career side of his life. He'd lost his wife and he had essentially lost his daughter because he was struggling to be around her as much. So he was very much on his own and only able to mourn the previous life that he used to have when he was happy, and that was when he was with Tiff. In episode 6, we saw that Richie wanted to better himself and develop his career a little more, and that was 4 years prior to how we saw him in season 2, but we saw that it didn't dictate the type of person that he was and his overall mood, as he knew that he still had Tiff and his daughter that was on the way at the time, whereas before his transformation, he spent most of the time on his own. So it's easy to see that him and Tiff breaking up was a clear direction shifter and tilted him towards the side of unhappiness that he spent all of season 1 and the majority of season 2 on. The lack of parental guidance. Richie has made it clear that he's an individual that never really got on with his parents at all, and he viewed the Bizzatos as his family. He was closer to them due to being Mikey's best friend, hence why he's referred to as cousin. Richie most likely gets the standoffish behaviour from the fact that outside of the Bizzatos' kindness and them viewing him as a family member too, he's had to fend for himself his whole life, which is where the strong-willed, hard-faced and blunt persona can often come from, because he's had to be like that in order to survive, something which even now is still present in his life. The act of serving people and finding purpose. The real turning point in Richie's life came in episode 7 of season 2 of the show, when Kami sent him off to one of the best restaurants in the country so that he could work on his skills in being able to lead the front of house operations. Prior to this occurring, it really did feel like nothing was going Richie's way, and that he was on the verge of giving up. He felt like he had no purpose in his life and that he was just merely existing without there being any joy, satisfaction, or fulfillment. A place that nobody ever wants to find themselves. There was a scene in the beginning of the episode where he was looking at the train that was passing by, and I wasn't feeling good about what he could have potentially been thinking, as he was in such a dark place at that point of the show. However, as the time went on and the fear that he had of it being too late to ever make a difference in his own life being put to bed, when he realized that every second counted, which was the common theme that was present amongst everybody that went on a journey in this show, he came back as a reformed, transformed man that was not only able to improve the front of house system and structure, but he improved himself, which was most notably recognized in the fact that he now wore suits, something that the character never previously did. He didn't even want to wear Kami's blue apron to start with. That sense of purpose and getting satisfaction out of caring for others was something that really allowed the character to start piecing together his mind, a mind that was previously in shattered pieces due to everything that he had gone through in his life up until then. His lack of belonging due to not getting on with his family and being an only child, the losing of his best friend, the losing of the authority that he felt he once had in the sandwich shop, the losing of Tiff, the fear that he had about not being around his daughter, and the lack of purpose in his own life were all things that the character had truly moved on from, and it was almost like we saw a new human being stood in front of us, with drive, determination, understanding, and a skill set to truly be the best at what he did, whilst being able to bring out the best of other people. The fact that he was treating people better following him coming back from the restaurant after acquiring the skills showed that he was previously acting the way that he was due to the feelings that he had about his own life, and the fact that he was almost jealous of the success that other people found themselves in. Richie felt stuck, but he was no longer like that, and after tasting something in his life that he truly felt that he was good at, he showed people more respect, and the loudmouthed, sarcastic individual that always wanted to be the loudest in the room despite having no value in the words that were being spoken, was now an individual that was prepared to speak only when necessary, but be able to step up and save the day, something which he did in the finale. Richie is a character that behind Kami is most definitely the most interesting one to follow when it comes to trying to understand the mind of them. In fact, the chaotic relationship that they share is something that's extremely unique in its own right. Whilst Richie has had a lot of growth and development, and Kami has too, there's nothing to say that regression can't occur. We had a climax in Season 2 that was the exact same as the climax of Season 1 Episode 1, with the both of them having an argument which took place inside of the refrigerator. So the ending most certainly reminded us that despite change being something that does occur, you're never that far away from going back to the person that you used to be, and progression comes with time and small changes. Richie has had a fast transformation. The real test will be if he manages to stick with it, something which I hope he does do, because if there's any character that deserves it, then it's him. So, there you have it, a look inside the mind of Richie in The Bear Season 2. If you'd like to see more videos such as endings explained, theories and predictions, and character breakdowns, then click on the I button, or alternatively you can head over to my channel where you'll find them all. If you'd like to give me a show or movie that you'd like me to review, then head over to my Twitter, @BrainPilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. And finally, if you'd like to see what I rate the latest movies that don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile. It's where I rate the latest releases in real time. What did you think of Richie's development? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.